1966, the Chicago Bears drafted the son of a Pennsylvania coal miner in the 4th round. Doug Buffone would go on to play 15 seasons for the Bears and later be named one of the 100 greatest Bears of all time. His allegiance to the Bears never waned, even when he took to the microphone and witnessed some horrendous Bears teams.
The fact is, there's not the fear put into them, because this game is a lot about fear. You either do the job, or you go home and go sell hamburgers at McDonald's.
Doug told it like it is, and that's part of the reason his nephew John has dedicated this show to Doug. And now John Buffone is spreading Buffone-branded beratements just like his uncle.
Win the football game. You're the head coach. I don't care what you have your fingers in. I don't care what you're meddling in. You're the head freaking coach. We get it. You're the most important guy on the staff. You don't have to keep trying to legitimize that.
And he's got pep talks too.
I love this team. And I know everyone watching and listening loves this team. So while we may be pessimistic and cynical, every one of us still has hope that the stars will align at some point. And if that ever does happen, you'll be glad you stuck around.
John is telling it like it is here on Buffone 55. And joining John are Alyssa Barbieri, managing editor of USA Today's NFL Wires, including Bears Wire, and also Danny Shimon, lead game and draft analyst for the Barroom Network. Buckle up and bear down. This is Buffone 55, The John Buffone Show.
Hello and welcome to this early edition of Buffone 55, a fast-paced approach at breaking down those lovable Chicago Bears. My name is John Buffone. With me, as always, is my co-host and producer, Alyssa Barbieri. Alyssa, the Bears heard that we were tired of talking about the same thing over and over again, so they went above and beyond to find a new way to lose against the Broncos, and now here we are on a short week to talk about it. How you doing?
Time is a flat circle. It's nothing but pain. Somehow the NFL scriptwriters have screwed the Bears this year. I don't know how the Bears managed to top last week's blowout, but like the fact that, they had us for 3 quarters, we were hopeful for 3 quarters, and then they ripped it away. Oh man, it was new. I mean, that's something I guess we could say this season.
I mean, I thought different would mean, a win, but in this case, it was just like get out to a nice big lead and then fall apart. That was the difference. That's what we have to talk about today. And now, it's short memory, short week, and now they got to do it all again because you remember how exciting the Thursday night game against the Commanders was last year. They got to replicate that, right?
Oh man, you get to be there for that one too. How excited are you?
You know what? I bought the tickets before the season thinking the Bears were going to be something, and I will never make that mistake again. But yeah, I will be down in DC area, I guess, watching my lovable Chicago Bears roll into Landover, Maryland to take on the Commanders on a Thursday night special. So we'll see. we'll see what it's gonna look. I just want, if it's a good game, then I'll think it'll be worth my money to drive down there. It's not too far from where I'm located. But before we jump into this mess, Alyssa, can you give everyone a rundown of how Buffone 55 works?
Absolutely. So we're going to begin with the classic B55 segment. That's when I asked John 5 questions about the Bears, and his responses must be completed within 55 seconds. The 55 is John's way of paying tribute to the great Doug Buffone, his uncle, his mentor, and a man who played 15 seasons with the Bears and wore number 55. Then at halftime, we're going to break down the Bears' upcoming opponent. And this week, we're going to take a deep dive on the Washington Commanders, who just lost in overtime to the Philadelphia Eagles, and they're pissed. So that should be interesting. And we're then going to finish things up with a free-for-all that we call Buffone's Basement, where Danny Shimon's going to join John and me, and the 3 of us, we're going to have another nice Bears therapy session. I don't know, John, it feels like every week we are having a Bears therapy session with us, with the Barflies. I mean, this is just a community effort right here.
14 straight games of these therapy sessions we are doing and counting. Where is the light at the end of this tunnel? I don't know. Hopefully it's Thursday, but I'm not getting my hopes up too high. I've learned my lesson to not get my hopes up.
Yeah. So, John, I know you haven't had much time to rest up. Are you up for this?
I'm gonna try my best. I can't guarantee anything. I'm still completely emotionally drained from yesterday, but I'm gonna give it my best shot.
Okay, then. So let's dive right into our B55 segment. I'm going to ask John 5 questions about the Bears, and he's somehow going to manage to keep his answers under 55 seconds. So let's get it started. So, John, Sunday was a rough one. The Bears blew a 21-point lead in the second half and grasped defeat from the jaws of victory to fall to 0-4. So, John, you said you were going to emotionally disconnect from this team last week. Did that work? 55 seconds or on the clock?
You know, I really thought I was just going to let it play out and not get too high or low because I didn't want them to hurt me anymore. And it's almost like the Bears saw that as a challenge. They were like, oh, yeah, well, what if we dominate the first half and then gradually fall apart? Will that do it for you? And I think the biggest thing for me was this game took us to another depth of hopelessness that I didn't even know existed. What this told us was your quarterback can have a career day statistically, throw for more yards than he ever has, set the franchise record for consecutive completions, throw 4 touchdowns. DJ Moore can have his best game of the year. Your running back can rush for over 100 yards, and you're still going to find a way to lose. And the quarterback played a significant role in that. There's no denying the impact of Fields fumbling and getting it taken back for a touchdown and the late interception. But outside the quarterback, they're unable to convert on 4th and 1. The defense is still soft. The coaching decisions, very suspect. This team has to play an absolute perfect game to win. The margin of error is almost nothing, and that game just reinforced it.
I mean, the worst part too was like going into that game, I was like, I don't care what's going to happen here. I'm not going to let them get my hopes up because I know how this is going to end. And then the first quarter happened, and then the second, and Justin Fields had a perfect first half. And I'm like, oh my God. And then they had a 21-point lead. And I'm like, oh my goodness, okay, they might actually do this. Then I started to get excited. You know, like I let my guard down a little bit. And then as we know, the Bears did what they do best. They found a new devastating way to win. And like you mentioned, I think the thing that's most frustrating is they ruined Justin Fields' perfect day, his best as a Bear in the NFL. And, you know, he should have been feeling confident and excited after that game. And instead, you know, reports were saying that after the game, he was in his locker for like 30 minutes just staring ahead. And like this team continues to break his spirit. And it's just really frustrating to watch.
He looked dejected on the sidelines. Like it looked like it's like, what else do I have to do? And like I said, I'm not gonna pretend like he didn't screw up a few times, but there was plenty of blame to go around, and you know, all the way back. And I'm sure we're gonna talk about this at length, but like the coaching decisions, and you know, I didn't mind them going for it on 4th and 1 to seal the game. I hated the play call. I didn't mind them going for it, but also like you did a hard count beforehand to try to get them to jump off sides. You call timeout, and then you're like, oh, hell, let's just go for it anyway. And then you roasted a timeout in the process. So it was I didn't like how they set that up. But either way, just a devastating loss all around for everybody, whether it's the fans or the players. Just another way to have a devastating loss.
No, and like you said, I agreed with them going for it on 4th and 1 there because I had no confidence in the defense to keep Denver out of the end zone at that point. But like you said, it was the play call. How do you take the ball out of your best player's hands in a moment like that? Everyone knew Khalil Herbert was going to get the ball the way that they were running it, especially on that drive. It like Luke Getsy had a good 3 quarters, and then the 4th quarter happened. It was just, it's like 1 step forward to like 3 steps, 10 steps back, I guess, with the Bears at this point. So, I mean, just like you said, just frustrating and devastating all around.
The coaches, the quarterback, the rest of the players, for some reason, the 4th quarter hits, and it's too much. It's just I don't know why they're putting so much pressure on themselves because it's not like they're expected to do anything, but it's just like once the 4th quarter hits, the wheels fall off.
Yeah, at that point, you're winless. You've lost 13 straight before this game. What do you have to lose at this point? Come on. You need something good to happen. You need to take a risk. And it just feels like he's coaching scared. I'm like, dude, I mean, that's not helping you. I mean, you're already going to get fired, I feel like, at this point. So, I mean, just like fight for your job or something. Let's go.
Put something good on tape for your next job. That's for the players and that's for the coaches. Put something good on tape because a lot of these people will be looking for a new job at the end of the year.
Absolutely. So, John, we just talked about Justin Fields, and Bears fans are completely torn about how much of this loss is on him versus how much of the Bears' overall woes are on him this season. So, where do you fall on that when we're trying to hand out blame here? Good luck getting this into 55 seconds. Go.
Well, the game against the Broncos was like getting a beautiful meal, but the dessert was so bad that it ruined everything. The appetizers were perfectly crisp and warm. The entree was robust and flavorful and filling. And then you ordered the souffle for dessert, and as it was put on the table, it imploded into itself and it tasted like cardboard. That's what happened here. 3 really good quarters with great stats, and then the wheels fell off. I'm not going to absolve Justin Fields of his miscues just because of his stats. The fumble was really bad, and the interception, whether it was a miscommunication with Cole Kmet or not, you can't be on a different page like that when the game is on the line. And he also had an intentional grounding call before that. We are allowed to say that he contributed to the loss just as much as we would have said he greatly contributed to the win had the Bears been able to pull it out. But I don't want to get dragged into this all or nothing battle. I know it's sexy to say this is all Fields' fault or none of it is Fields' fault, but I truly don't believe either one of those things. Yeah, he has played poorly at times, but the team has also given up 25 plus points in 14 straight games. The first team to ever do that. I don't think it's crazy to say the entire thing's a mess.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. When you're this bad, it's not one person. It's multiple people. And we're seeing that whether it's the players, the coaches, the front office, right? Looking at Ryan Poles and this team he assembled. But, like you said, Fields did have a really great day, a career day, but he did, again, at the end of the game, make those mistakes. And, again, like you mentioned, that play call and the fumble that was returned for a touchdown, just like brutal. No, he didn't stand a chance, or he should have just tucked it and took the sack.
Yeah, that was and that some of that I guess would come back to play calling, because as it was noted from a number of people before that, the Broncos were getting on to what the Bears were doing, and they were blitzing the bootleg a lot, and eventually it caught up with them. Now, would you like the quarterback to hold on to the ball and secure the ball? Absolutely. Yes. But you also don't want your play caller to be so predictable that they know what's coming.
And that's like one of the issues with the coaching staff this season, right? Is that, when you're supposed to make those adjustments, other teams are making them, but you're not. And you're just like stuck in the same place, stationary. And it's so frustrating. It's like why? Like, wake up. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're as dejected as the players out there. But yeah, Fields does deserve some of the blame for that, because again, it's the fourth quarter, and we know that the Bears, and especially Fields during his time here, haven't been able to get it done right in the fourth quarter or close out games. And we're right back to that conversation about how the Bears need to learn how to win. They need to learn how to close out games. And it's true, especially with this regime and this coaching staff. And it's frustrating because Fields had an amazing day, but, he did also have a couple of those costly turnovers at the end. But again, when we're handing out blame, Fields gets a slice of it, but there's plenty of that pie to go around.
Oh, there's blame pie to go all over the place. There is not a shortage of blame pie to be served out with this organization. Just from and that just comes from everyone who's been a lifelong Bears fan. We know that everyone's the problem. Everyone is the issue.
Absolutely. And speaking of one of those issues, one of Fields' most notable weapons was noticeably absent on Sunday. And you know where I'm getting to this. With Chase Claypool being a healthy scratch. Late last week, Claypool told the media that he wasn't being used in the best way to showcase his skill set, which presumably led to this move. The Bears asked him to stay home on Sunday, and head coach Matt Eberflus made it clear Claypool won't be at Hallis Hall this week or be active for the Commanders game. What do you make of this whole mess? Good luck keeping it in 55 seconds.
Well, at first, I was happy they made him inactive. I didn't think it would get to that point because I wasn't sure they would want the trade for Claypool to look even worse than it already did. But I guess it got to the point where they had no choice. They already had to sit him down and have a talk with him about his blocking earlier in the season. Look, they probably are shopping him already. They might get a conditional 6th or 7th round pick for him if a team needs depth. He'll come in as a team's 4th receiver, and it'll maybe be an insurance policy if someone gets hurt. But we now at least know of one Bears receiver that's not going to get extended at the end of the year. But Eberflus really couldn't give a real answer after the game. He tiptoed around it. And if you want to make a statement to your team by sitting Claypool down, you simply say certain standard of conduct on this team, and it's necessary for every player to understand that. That at least lets the rest of the team know that even if your record is bad, there is a standard in the locker room. And maybe they did that internally, but it just seemed like they wanted to make this move and then pretend like it never happened and not address it publicly.
Yeah, I think the handling of the situation was more frustrating than the situation somehow, just because we've seen this from Claypool, since week 1, right? When the lackluster effort and having to apologize, and reports that they were prepared to ship him out if this continued. And guess what? It continued. He called out his coaches. I mean, it's just, and don't, the fact that the offense was better without him on the field, just like speaks volumes. I mean, it's just been a rough year for him, but the handling of the situation, especially Matt Eberflus, and getting up there and not knowing, it seemed like after the game, he did not know what was going on. He gave the wrong information. A Bears, official had to be like, no, that's not what happened. And then obviously the press conference today, I'm sure everyone's seen, it was just a blunder. It was a mess. He's in way over his head. He doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, this team is just going to be a mess until something is done. But I mean, I feel like at this point, John, we can agree, right? Claypool is not coming back. There's no way to come back from this.
I'd be surprised. I don't know if he's going to be. I don't know if he suits up for the Bears again. Like I don't know if he ever puts the uniform back on in Chicago. And I mean, if you want to push back on this and you say you don't want to trash a player you're trying to trade and drive his value down to other teams, but we're not talking about like squeezing a first or second or third round pick out of somebody at best, because he's in a contract year. It's not like he's on a cheap 4-year deal or anything like that. At best, you're going to get a conditional 6th or 7th round pick for this guy right now. He's a rental. He's essentially, you'd be getting a rental player just for a depth piece. So it's not like you're trying to, angle your way in for a 2nd or 3rd round pick. That ain't going to happen. I mean, the Bears gave up a 2nd round pick. No one else is. And so, I mean, and listen, I don't want to be Captain Hindsight here, because I was kind of excited about the trade when it happened. I thought it was a pretty big price tag, but I was mildly excited about it. So I'm not going to pretend like I'd never said that. But it's just that, like, you got to send a message to the rest of the guys in the locker room that, like, and you can't just go up publicly and be like, did you ask him to not show up? No. And I don't want to address that. And he was like, you sat him down for a reason. It's not, you sat him down because an attitude problem, a performance problem, whatever it is, own it and take an authoritative approach to something for once. Act like you're in charge of the team. And once again, it was a kind of a him-ha tiptoe. Let's make sure everyone's happy, and I don't want to take anybody off kind of thing.
Yeah, and to be honest, this should have happened in week 2. They should have benched him in week 2 after that whole situation, because again, it sent the wrong message to the locker room at that point. And now you're just, whatever's going on, whether you're trying to trade him, whether it's because of the coach's comments, because, I mean, let's be real, he was at the facility on Friday. If they were going to make him an active, they could have told him there on Friday. Instead, they waited until Saturday conveniently, right? So I don't know, the whole situation, again, like with Matt Eberflus and the lack of transparency and how he's lying and deflecting, and he's so bad at it, and it's cringeworthy. And good for the Chicago media today and how they just grilled him. Like, he looks so uncomfortable up there. I mean, sure, he's a nice guy, so you feel for him, the person.
Sure.
But as the coach, what are you doing? Just answer the damn questions. I mean, it's frustrating when a player like Cole Kmet is more transparent than the head coach.
Well, because Cole Kmet has job security.
True.
He's just signed an extension, so he can probably say a few more things. But no, you're absolutely right, though. It's just like, yeah, being a nice guy is not gonna get you through that. It's you have to at least have the portrayal that you're in charge of this operation, and you have a strict standard of what you hold your players to. And once again, maybe they do some of this stuff internally, but to the outside world, you're getting picked apart right now. And I wonder if you think they gave Eberflus a mock press conference in his tryout, because it used to be a thing. I wonder if they go back to that. They fire.
I bet he aced it. He aced it.
Yeah, I'm sure just towed the company line. But I'm sure we'll have a lot more to say about Coach Eberflus here.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, plus, I mean, unless he's fired, we got 14 more of these. So
goody.
Oh, yay. Speaking of Matt Eberflus, John, his seat seems to be getting hotter by the second. His record as the Bears head coach is now 3-18, and fans have had just about enough of the second-year head coach. So, John, is it already time to show Eberflus the door? 55 seconds are on the clock.
Well, short answer is yes, but do I think they do it? No, the Bears don't generally fire guys in the middle of the season, let alone 4 games into the season. But if I had to guess, this guy has completely lost the locker room. There are still players on this team that were here last year and have experienced 14 straight losses. What is this head coach doing to keep these guys inspired? What progress is he clinging to show these guys that he is worth buying into? He's a defensive-minded head coach, but his defense, as we noted earlier, is historically bad. I said after the game, what is Matt Eberflus's redeeming quality as a coach? Not as a person. He seems like a perfectly pleasant person. But as the head coach of the Chicago Bears, what is he hanging his hat on? He's not great at the podium. He doesn't seem like a motivator that can bring guys out of a big losing streak. His defensive scheme is vanilla with some sprinkles thrown on it from time to time. I just don't know how Ryan Poles, Kevin Warren, or even George McCaskey can look at this and think, yeah, he's going to turn that around.
Yeah, no, like you said, yes, he should be gone. Are the Bears going to do it? No. Like, my one glimmer of hope, it's never happened before, but you do have Kevin Warren in place now, and you hope he has the authority to make these kind of decisions. Now, I understand not firing him after this game because it's a short week, right? Going into Washington. But if they are embarrassed, because, I mean, they're going to lose. But if they're just like embarrassed again and they lose that 15th straight game and it's a freaking mess, you have 11 days before your next game. That would be the perfect time to send a message. You're sending the message to the players, to the fans, that this is not a joke of an organization, because that's what it's become. You need to make a stand. And I feel like they have Kevin Warren in place. This isn't George McCaskey back there making the calls. Do something. Someone is going to, like, if this goes really wrong like we expect it to on Thursday, someone's got to take the blame, whether it's Eberflus, whether it's Getsy. We'll see, but a move should be made. Again, do I think it will be made? No, but this would be the perfect time.
I just don't. I can't see it happening, just because I'm thinking, like, who do you replace him with? And I know that we want to send a message. If they want to listen, here's my theory. If they want to fire him, 3 or 4 games before the end of the year and then get a head start on their head coaching search, I have no problem with that. In fact, I'm in favor of that. If you know that this guy is not going to be brought back, just like when we knew that Matt Nagy was not going to be brought back, what are you waiting for? Cut loose and then start and turn the page now. You got to start. You can start getting names down. You can start making some back channel calls on some things. Maybe not. You don't want to get any tampering issues there. But I think that if you want to get a head start and you know that you're going to fire this guy, go ahead and do it later on. If to do it in week 5, it's just like, I get it. I want changes, but who's going to be the head coach? Luke Getsy, and then who's going to be calling plays for the defense, because you already lost your defensive coordinator, and then you're losing the guy who's calling the defense. So maybe they fire a position coach, or listen. I want changes more than anybody. I just don't know what those changes are going to be right now, because we're so early. It's so early in the season. What can you possibly do?
That's true. But you also have another opportunity, assuming this continues. And my goodness, if the losing streak is still ongoing when they play the Panthers on November 9th, so help me, that would be the perfect opportunity at that point, right? Because you're about halfway through the season. Again, you have that 11 days between that game and your next. But I mean, that's a fair point to, but again, Kevin Warren, those are the kind of decisions that he's going to have to make, him and Ryan Poles. So I don't know. It's just, this is so much more different than the Nagy situation. They're at this point, assuming they lose Thursday, they've lost 15 games in a row if they lose on Thursday. We're approaching again like the NFL record, or one of like the NFL records in the modern era. Yeah. It's so embarrassing. It's like the Nagy stuff is embarrassing, but this is a whole nother level. It's like, how much of that, especially with Kevin Warren in place, how much of that is he willing to take?
Yeah, and even like I always said that Nagy benefited from having Vic Fangio in the defense that actually showed up for it was 2018 for sure, 2019 to a lesser extent, but still did, and then 2020 a little bit. But like there's not a side of the ball that's good here. There's nothing here that's going to keep you in the game. The defense is awful, and although the offense did play really well against the Broncos, who, mind you, gave up 70 points before that, but they did play well. But overall, looking at it holistically, neither side of the ball is very good, and so that just increases the hopelessness.
Hopelessness. I'm just gonna get that word tattooed in my forehead. That's look in the mirror, hopelessness, or just turn the TV on, Bears, hopelessness. It's just so frustrating. You remember back in 2018 when we were happy Bears fans? Vaguely,
very vaguely.
Before the double doink.
Yeah, like it seems like a shooting star now, where it was just like this fleeting moment of happiness. And that's what we have to hang our hats on with as being Bears fans, where they have these flash in the pan seasons where they make the playoffs and then they don't. Like, I think since 2000, I think how many made back-to-back playoffs once or twice maybe. And the one time was whenever they created the 7th seed and they fell ass backwards into a playoff spot and then got smoked by the Saints the next week. So like they just like, there is no sustainability. There's no sustainability of success. It's just not there. And that's what we have to hope, that there's going to be some of these flash in the pan seasons like 2018, and that you can take advantage of it, which they obviously did not. And so this is what we're stuck talking about.
I feel like the best part of a season for a Bears fan is the preseason hype. Like when we're like thinking about what this team could be, how they could reach their fullest potential, only for them to fall completely flat and just us to feel stupid because we came back and we expected different.
I think there's 3 periods of being a Bears fan. You got the draft, you got the preseason hype, and then you got mock draft. And then you have draft, preseason hype, mock draft, and then it's just cyclical. It's basically what happens.
Hey, the Bears currently have the top 2 picks in the 2024 NFL draft. So hey.
Oh, we have all the confidence in the world they won't screw that up.
And so the circle continues to turn. These are the days of our lives.
Yep.
Okay, so John, last week we talked about why Bears fans should still care. I think that ship has sailed for a lot of people after Sunday's game. So we're going to end with this. Is this as hopeless of a Bears team that you've seen in recent history? Let's turn the clock off for this one. Have at it.
Oh boy. Maybe I'm being a prisoner of the moment, but yeah, I think this is the quickest we have become hopeless in a long time. They aren't tanking. They're just bad. They weren't supposed to be competing for the number 1 overall pick. They were supposed to be competing for a wild card spot in December. And I think they're missing a significant part of the rebuild process here. The building part. Last year was the demolition part. They wiped the foundation clean, and I think a lot of fans trusted what was happening. But you have to turn the jackhammer off at some point. You just can't keep busting up concrete because you're not actually building anything. It's a 17-game season. We aren't even a quarter of the way through, and we have to watch these performances through October, through November, through December, and some of January. 3.5 more months of this. The Bears are already toast, and it's only week 5. It's October 2023. The Bears have not won a game since October 2022. It wasn't supposed to be this way, but maybe it was destined to be this way, and we just didn't want to believe it. That'll be all for B55. After this message, we'll preview the Washington Commanders and talk with Danny Shimon, the Barroom's lead analyst.
The fall is where we rock here at the Barroom Network, with over 15 shows scheduled from September to January. Make sure you subscribe to the Barroom Network's YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to Buffone 55. This week, the Bears traveled to our nation's capital to take on the Commanders in a Thursday night matchup. Aldo Gandia previews a team that is flying under the radar with a good defense and sneaky good weapons on offense.
The Washington Commanders came into Lincoln Financial Stadium on Sunday with a 2-1 record. Their loss the previous week to the Buffalo Bills was a thorough 37-3 whipping. Ron Rivera's team bounced back and gave the Eagles everything they could handle by forcing overtime with this touchdown and no time left on the clock.
Touchdown! On their last breath, it's Jahan Dotson!
The Eagles, though, stopped the Commanders in their first overtime possession and won the game.
Oh, perfect throw, but he's out of bounds!
Not getting the W is a hard pill to swallow, and I think, Moses, that's really what the sense is and what the meaning is, that there was no moral victory.
I don't believe in moral victories or anything like that. We lost the game that we felt like we should have won.
All eyes on the Commanders' rebuild are focused on second-year quarterback Sam Howell. Against the Bills, he threw 4 interceptions. Sunday, he got back on track, throwing 0 interceptions and 1 TD with 290 yards passing against a formidable Eagles defense.
I think he processed a lot quicker. His decision-making was quicker. he really seemed to really have a good feel and good grasp as to what was going on out there. Made some really quick decisions, got the ball out of his hands, kept them off balance as much as anything. So just again, a lot of good growth, and I think his consistency really showed.
It's a screen. It's Robinson.
Howe has offensive weapons to help expedite his growth. Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson are not among the league leaders in rushing, but average over 4 yards per carry and are capable pass catchers.
3rd and 4. Philly shows pressure and then backs off. So Howell's got time. Lets it rip for a first down, and it's McLaurin again.
The receiving crew has the potential to be among the best in the league. 5-year veteran Terry McLaurin is teamed with another productive vet, Curtis Samuel, and second-year man, Jahan Dotson. The tight ends are a serviceable group. Washington's offensive line is allowing a league-worst 6 sacks per game, but a big reason why is young quarterback Sam Howell holding on to the ball too long. Perhaps the biggest weapon the Commanders possess is their offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy. His years working with Andy Reid have helped him develop a very creative and disciplined approach to managing an offense.
Robinson again hits the hole hard. Robinson is in. Touchdown, Washington.
Well, I think our football team's doing some good things. I think we're growing, developing. I think part of it will be as Sam goes. I think we'll play accordingly.
On defense, the Commanders have one of the best pass rushing defensive lines in the NFL. They're currently tied for 6th in sacks, averaging 3.3 sacks per game. Defensive tackle Jonathan Allen has 2 sacks on the year. Chase Young has 2.5, and team leader Montez Sweat has 3. At linebacker, Cody Barton and Jamin Davis are the leading tacklers. The defensive backfield is loaded with relatively young players, but none younger and more inexperienced than 2023 first-round pick cornerback Emmanuel Forbes, who had a tough game versus the Eagles.
I've already talked with Emmanuel. I talked to him right after the game. I wanted to make sure he was okay. His head was in a good spot. But what will happen is, his position coaches, coordinator, Jack will get together with him. They'll go through some things. They'll talk about the positives. They'll talk about the negatives. It'll get an opportunity for him to look at things and see the things that he needs to work on and correct. I mean, it's just a process of learning and growth. I mean, he is a young player. He's a rookie that we've put a lot on. We think he's capable.
But here it is, another stutter and go up over the top, and then you'll see A.J. Brown at the end. He's going to drop the ball into Emmanuel Forbes' lap.
One of the things that we most certainly working on is trying to eliminate some of the explosives we've allowed. That's been unfortunate and untimely. And then continue to work and continue to create takeaways. We've had opportunities. We just haven't gone through with it. And we've got to get takeaways. It's a big part of what can help us win football games.
On special teams, the Commanders have one of the best punters in the NFL, Tress Way. And watch for Antonio Gibson to return kicks. His long this year is a 29-yarder.
Fields was looking deep. He's going to take a shot. Downfield, he's got a man more. Was he in? No signal yet. Touchdown!
This is a team that's going to come in and they're hungry to win. They're 0-4. They know it, but they have a very talented young quarterback who's dynamic and explosive. And last year he gave us hell. We can't allow that to happen. We've got to be disciplined. We've got to play our game. This is again a young team that's growing and developing. They were a couple of years back, and again, I like who their quarterback is. I really do. I think Justin's a heck of a man, a young man. He's got a good receiver and a guy that I think is an explosive player for them. But again, it's one of those games that you can't fall asleep on a young team like that because they don't know the difference. They go out every week. They want to win every week. They're going to play and be very competitive. And I think Coach Eberflus is going to bring these guys in ready to roll.
For Buffone 55, I'm Aldo Gandia.
Welcome back. I was a little. I'm sure Coach Eberflus will have these guys ready to play. My eyebrows went straight up, and then I realized I got put on camera the second it happened. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure."
You got to be on your toes with Aldo. We know that.
Well, now it's time for a segment we call Buffone's Basement. That's when we bring on the Barroom's lead analyst, Danny Shimon. Danny, how you doing, my friend?
Danny.
Hey guys, how are you? It's another not a victory Monday. It's a defeated Monday. I think
It's
right?
a Monday.
Here we go.
It's a
It's a
Monday,
Monday.
regardless. Every day is just it's just a Monday after a Bears game. There are no more victory Mondays. But
I caught that tail end of that Ron Rivera press conference where he's giving Eberflus the kudos there. It's they all go to the Bill Belichick, throw flowers at the feet of the opposing coaches.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was funny.
Increasingly difficult whenever you're playing the Bears. But Danny, we'll start with this. We talked about this directly after the game. So, but for anyone that wasn't able to tune in, what was your immediate reaction after that loss? Because it just feels like they're finding new ways to just implode.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It was a game that halfway through the third quarter, you're like, all right, this is in the books in terms of a W. Justin and the offense came out and kind of imposed their will on a Broncos defense, obviously that was reeling coming into the game off their Miami game, and they just kind of took advantage of them, and next thing you know, that defense fell apart, and they gave up a couple scores. There was the fumble by Justin that just can't happen, and then obviously the 4th and 1, which I heard you guys earlier. I agree with you. I think all three of us agree that it was the right call to go for it. I just don't like the play, and then I think right there, Eberflus just kind of said, I don't trust my defense to stop these guys, so I'm gonna get that first down. It's only 1 yard. We'll get the first down, and we'll run the clock, kick a field, and get the hell out of here with the victory.
Why do the hard count then call timeout though?
Well, according to Eberflus, they're trying to drum off sides, get a cheap first down, and they didn't fall for it, so they just call a timeout, and then they ended up calling that handoff in the shotgun, which drove me crazy. Everyone, it seems like everyone just doesn't want to do that tush push that the Eagles are doing. Like you have a 6'3", 228-pound
forward,
a quarterback there, and get behind him and just push him and get that 1 yard. I don't understand. If it's not illegal yet, it hasn't been banned yet. NFL hasn't said only the Eagles can run this play. You all can run this play. I just don't get the handoff in the shotgun. 7 yards back off the line of scrimmage, hand it to running back. Obviously, the rookie done all right. Blows his backside block, and then the linebacker gets in there and stuffs over for that no gain. So, but yeah, I think Eberflus there knew that he had to get the first down, because even if they kick a field goal there, the Broncos are going to march right down and take over and win the game with a touchdown.
I think it's not getting enough call. I don't think it's getting enough criticism because it actually worked, but they did that stupid tight end sneak again. And I can't stand that play. Is a short yardage where they put Cole Kmet under center, and why not just have your big 6'3", 230-pound quarterback fall forward? Like I don't. Why does everything have to be chess when it can just be checkers? Why can't you just line up and fall forward?
They get too cute with it. They're going to put a guy. I know he practices his play, but Cole Kmet is not a player that's used to taking snaps from a center. Just give it to your quarterback and let him sneak up there and get that first down, and that's it. I don't understand why they get. It's all started with Andy Reid and Travis Kelce, and then Matt Nagy got into a little bit here where he was with the Bears too. So. And now looks like Luke Getsy's kind of taken over. I don't think we'll see that play ever again, because now it looks like the defenses are on that, and twice now he's run that play, and I don't think they've gotten the first down either one. I can't remember.
Well, I think we said we all agree that going for it was. We were okay with that. The play call, not so much, but we were okay with going for it. The only some of the pushback that I've heard just from some of the national shows, and it made me think. It didn't change my mind, but it made me think a little bit. And I think it was Colin Cowherd. I'm not, and take that for what you will. But I think it was. He said, "Kick the field goal, because even if the Broncos go down and they score, it takes all of the blame off of your young quarterback who got roasted after the game. All it was then your defense sucked and let it go, but your quarterback still had a career game, and there's going to be less of a blame put on him. If you go up 31-28 with a couple minutes left and your defense falls apart, everyone's going to be coming for you because you're the defensive head coach, but you can endure that. Meanwhile, your quarterback can still, kind of, I don't want to say enjoy, but they can still talk about the great game he had rather than, throwing the interception at the end or whatever. It didn't protect Justin Fields by, not taking the lead and then putting it on the defense. I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying I thought that was a very interesting take where it's like, who do you want the blame to go on? Do you want it to go on the defense, or do you want it to go on the quarterback? But once again, I didn't mind going for it on fourth down. I wish they would have just, buckled up and actually went for a yard rather than trying to get super cute out of the shotgun. But it was just another thing that people can get to dissect about the Bears because it did not work.
The mode right now in Hallis Hall is CYA, cover your ass, because everyone's up there looking, trying to save their jobs, and Eberflus is not caring about Justin Fields' day and having him leave the field with good feelings. He wants to get a victory because that winning streak or that losing streak, I should say, has become a national laughing stock. The whole organization has become a national laughing stock, and it's gotten national notoriety, and he wants to end it, and he just wanted to get a victory there, trying to get a game there so he can say I feel good about himself, and he had no intentions of caring about anyone's feelings other than getting that victory and trying to preserve his job up there.
Yeah, and one of the frustrating things too, you remember the first series of the game for the offense where they were up 4th and 2, I believe, or whatnot at midfield, and you punt.
Yep.
Just questionable decisions all around. Right. But in that situation, again, we all agree they should have went for it. But put the ball in Justin Fields' hands. Put it in your best player's hands and let him go take care of it.
Or if you want to give it to a running back, that's fine. Just line up in an I formation and have Justin under center. Give the defense something to think about. Well, Justin's under center. Could he sneak it? You have a fullback in the backfield. Could it be a short handoff to the fullback? Toss play it to the outside with Herbert with a lead blocker. Just give the defense something to think about. We're just lining up Justin in the backfield. Now I know it was a read option play that the defensive end though just kind of stayed his ground. So even if Justin kept the ball, he was dead to rights there. But so he gave it to Herbert, and obviously, like I said, Wright blew the block, and then the linebacker got in there and made the tackle. So it's just a bad play call for that situation. Again, get under center, do the tush push, what the Eagles have been doing. Jalen Hurts is getting how many millions a year? And, if they can line him up and get him, get the first down, I think you can line up Justin Fields, and Justin will have no problem getting under center and running and getting that first down either. So.
Yeah, and let's stick with the offense because Alyssa, the Bears' offense totaled 471 yards, which obviously is a far cry from what we are used to. But then you have people coming and saying, "Listen, you did that against the Broncos. The Broncos gave up 70 against Miami." You still have to feel good about it, though, right? Because they're still professional football players. It's still, from what I understand, the Bears have not been relegated yet, but they will. But they are still in the NFL, and so you're playing an NFL team, and you were able to do that against a team with an offense that we didn't think could move the ball on, a high school team, but they were able to do that. So I'm grasping for straws here, but is it something that you can build on to say we put on that kind of performance against the Broncos? Let's see if we can keep that going.
Absolutely, because one of the first things people are going to point to, the Bears beat up on a really bad Broncos defense. Okay, but you can't look at it like that. You have to look at it from the Bears' offensive perspective. That is the best game they played all season. It is something that they can build on, that Justin Fields can build on, because right now he's playing for his career in Chicago at this point. And this was a game that he needed, and you hate that it ended the way that it did. And despite the loss and despite how devastating it was, and how just demoralizing and how demoralized the locker room was after that game, it's still something when they put the tape on this week, they can build on it, and they can go out against Washington and build on that. It's something they needed. It feels like last year, right? Except for this happened before the Washington game. It was the Washington game after it, that one against the Patriots, their last win. My God. That's when they finally found that building block to build on. And it happened a game early. Justin Fields looked like the Justin Fields that we saw at Ohio State, that we saw in the beginning before, during his rookie season. Well, not that first start, but, where he was more free and he wasn't overthinking, and he was going out there and just balling, throwing with confidence. He looked it was refreshing. It was oh my gosh, just look at him back there. Where has this been? Where has this been? So, it's definitely something I think that they can build on. They're going to face a taller task against this Washington defense, though. As in Aldo's preview, there are a lot of guys that have more sacks than the Bears defense total does this season. So, it's going to be a challenge. But again, you're coming off that game where there are positives to build on.
Danny, just from watching the game and the flow of the game, where things were going well and then they weren't going so well. What do you think contributed to that? Was it, I mean, everyone says Justin Fields tightens up in the fourth quarter. Some people are saying Luke Getsy's play calling became too predictable, and the Broncos could kind of see what was coming up. What was the big difference between the first basically 3.5 quarters to what happened in the fourth quarter?
Well, just kind of watching that second half again on, on my live TV copy I had of it recorded. It just it seemed like the execution just kind of failed them in that second half, or mainly that late third, early fourth quarter. Once the Broncos started gaining momentum, I think then the pressure kind of came back on the offense, and I think Luke Getsy went a little bit more conservative. And I think in terms of conservative, meaning just keep running the ball, not really doing the same patterns or same plays that they were calling earlier in the game for Justin in the offense. So I don't know if he was trying to just kind of get them through the game and not expose potentially Justin getting hit, sacked, or having a pick six or something like that. But I think the play calling got a little conservative there. And I also think that the execution in the second half really fell off from what they were doing in that first half. I mean, the first half, everyone's pumped up. Everyone was hyped up. They were making plays left and right. And getting back to the earlier question in terms of what do you take from this offensive output? Listen, guys, if they went up against this Broncos defense that just gave up 70 points to the Dolphins and they got shut out, or they only got 10 points, I mean, they would have to burn down Hallis Hall. I mean, that would be just a totally disaster. So the fact that they came out there and they showed that they have the ability, they have DJ Moore, a guy who can make some plays down the football field, give him an opportunity, have some patterns there where you get the ball quickly out of Justin Fields' hands and into the hands of a DJ Moore or some of these playmakers. So I think, and then the fact that Justin was in rhythm, 16 for 16 in the first, 16 completions, setting a new Bears franchise record. And that was something you builds confidence in your young quarterback. And now you can kind of build off of that. Obviously you would love to have had the W to kind of package it up and say, oh, listen, this is what we can do. If you continue to play like this and execute like this, in the first 3 quarters, we can get victories. And but unfortunately, everything deflated, because if you have a team that can score, has some weapons against this Bears defense, you're going to score. So it's a game that the Bears, if they're going to win a game, they're going to have to outscore teams. They're not going to be able to stop anybody.
Before we switch over to the defense, let's talk about one player who may not be a part of this offense anymore, Danny. Let's talk about Chase Claypool and how this has unfolded, whether it's how he's been acting or his lack of performance, or how the Bears have handled this entire situation, or what they should do moving forward. Do you believe Chase Claypool has played his last game for the Chicago Bears?
I believe so. I believe there's no coming back from this today. I mean, obviously after the game yesterday, John, you saw how upset I was where Eberflus went up there and said, "Oh, we gave him the option," and Claypool decided to stay home. That pissed me off, because I'm like, "There's no way you could do that." And it turns out that was a lie. That was Eberflus just not knowing what to do, what to say, caught up in a lie, and he just looked like a fool, looked like a clown up there.
Head coach.
Exactly. He's the head coach. So now you expect 53 men to follow this guy. That's a joke right there. So, but then the truth was, apparently, the Bears cleaned it up that they told Claypool to stay away, and the fact that they've told him to stay away this game as well, that leads credence to the fact that they're just trying to get rid of him, or they're going to try and get a bag of balls for him, or whatever they can. And if not, I think they're eventually going to end up cutting him. So we'll see what happens. I just don't know what kind of value he has right there right now. I think that the book was out there on Claypool from the Steelers days. It just seemed like that Ryan Poles never got a copy of that book and ended up giving up that high second round pick for it. So another one of those reasons why I have a bullseye on Ryan Poles' job.
Not just, I mean, obviously we're talking about Eberflus and Poles, but Alyssa, do you believe, and I talked about this during the B55 segment, where I believe that he has to have lost the locker room at this point. Like, I just don't know how people were going to be buying into a guy that is kind of him hawing at the podium publicly. The way that they've handled the Chase Claypool situation. Oh, and the 14-game losing streak to boot. So do you believe that they've potentially lost the locker room? I'm not saying that these guys aren't going to play hard or they don't respect Eberflus or anything like that, but eventually, like, you have to have something that gives you hope to motivate you to keep playing or trying to win all these games. Do you believe that there's probably a big disconnect there in the locker room?
Yeah, and I think he might have even lost it before this week. Honestly, I mean, it's just. It's 14 games. There are guys in that locker room, not even just the new guys that have come, that have lost 14 straight games. And think about that and what that does. And Matt Eberflus, honestly, he looks like he doesn't know what he's doing. He looks like he's in way over his head. He doesn't have control of that locker room. He's not the right guy to get these guys on track, to get them motivated. I mean, he's 3-18, easily the worst winning percentage in Bears history. There are no signs that things are going to get better anytime soon, especially when we look at that schedule. There might be. We took a look before we hopped on here. Like, we're trying to predict how many wins do the Bears, are on that schedule.
How things have changed
my
in a
goodness.
month.
I missed that first show. It was so much fun. But yeah, it's frustrating. I don't think he's the right guy. I think he's shown that. When you have players calling out coaches, I mean, when you have like Justin Fields, and I know it wasn't like right in your face, but when he's starting to question things too, and he's someone that will not throw guys under the bus. I mean, that was pretty telling. And then with Chase Claypool and seeing, I feel like he acted too late with the Claypool situation. Should have benched him in week 2. Now you're late, and it's kind of like, just festers there for a few weeks. And he just really doesn't know what he's doing. And I think that's a very easy way to lose the locker room, especially that, like you said, that 14-game franchise worst, approaching one of the worst NFL losing streaks in NFL history kind of thing. Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, and I don't know how much of that was like the Bears didn't want that trade to look worse than it already did, because they weren't getting anything for that high pick that they ended up being basically a first-round pick because of how the draft order shook out. But it's hard to then say, like, less than a year after that, be like, nope, we got to get this guy out of here, and we just burnt that high pick. So I honestly didn't know if they would sit him down, because they didn't want to look worse than they already did. But I felt good that they did. But then the way that they're handling it, by like, Eberflus does look like he didn't even talk to anybody before he went up to that press conference. Like, hey guys, did we tell him to stay home, or did we not tell? I'll just wing it. That's okay. And so, like, it looked like there was a big lack of communication there. And Danny, we talked about this in the first segment as far as Eberflus being on the hot seat, but I said it's going to be very difficult to fire a guy in game 5, and what are you replacing him with, especially on the defensive side of the ball, because you don't have anybody that calls plays, and he's calling plays right now, and who's going to be the interim, and what is that going to do? I think it was Cliff in the chat room said they need to hire a defensive coordinator to take some of the pressure off. What do you think that they could or should do as far as this coaching staff goes? Because everyone wants changes. I just don't know what those changes are. I honestly don't. I don't know what you can do without just being okay. Let's just make a change for the sake of making a change, and then everything completely falls apart more than it already is.
Right. I mean, in terms of making a change in mid-season, I mean, it's going to be difficult. But and if they go out on national television and wet the bed, and they get embarrassed, and that losing streak that losing streak keeps extending, and they look bad doing it. Justin gets pounded by that Washington defense. I mean, there's an opportunity there with that mini bye week there. You could make a change, or if Kevin Warren or someone's fed up and says, maybe Eberflus has lost the locker room, whatever. You could. I can see a scenario where you can bump up Luke Getsy to head coach, interim head coach. Maybe make John Hoke the defensive coordinator, and do something like that. But knowing the McCaskies, knowing how they operate, I don't think it's going to happen. I think Alyssa, you touched on a great point earlier in the show. You said maybe that week is week 9, I believe they play Carolina, another Thursday night game where. That could be when now you're a little bit further in the season. If this continues going on, if this losing streak is continuing going on into that Carolina game, now you can see change has got to be made just for the sake of change, because, like you said, the players, they have nothing to look for. Look at Justin Fields after the game. I mean, he was just down. I haven't seen him. I mean, I've seen him like miserable, but I haven't seen him. He looked like he just, like someone just, killed his dog or something like that. He was sad. It was just like everything was taken out of him. Now you have to come back on a short week and play Washington again on the road. Tough team. Good defense. It's gonna be a rough one, I think.
Yeah, and if they now I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if they were to extend this losing streak to that week, I think that would put them at 20 straight losses, and that would, I think, would tie the record this century. So since the year 2000, I think that would tie the longest losing streak since the year 2000. But
I could see it going, John, because if there's got to be a team that if you can score, if you got weapons, like Washington has weapons, Minnesota's got weapons. I don't remember who's after that, but if you have weapons, this defense cannot stop you. They cannot get off the football field on third downs. Absolutely cannot get off the football field on third downs.
Devontae Adams about to go off in a couple weeks.
I'm trying not to. I hate thinking about like I don't want to think about like, oh, right, whenever they're 0-9, whenever they're 0-8. I hate thinking like that. But like, but to your point, if we're gonna look at this pragmatically, it's not out of the realm of possibility that absolutely could happen. So okay, let's look ahead to the big showdown this Thursday as the Bears roll into Washington to take on the Commanders in a nationally televised or nationally streamed game against the Commanders. Danny, how afraid are you for Justin Fields against this defense? Because the Broncos defense was just porous. It was Swiss cheese back there. And granted, they did take advantage of it, but the Washington's a little different. What's your take on Fields in this offense facing Washington?
I'm very afraid. I'm very afraid for Justin's health, for his well-being. In terms of, I would try and run the ball. You had some success there. Now, again, the Washington front four is much more stout, much more better in terms of, getting after the, all aspects, the run game, the passing game, than the Broncos defense. But I would, again, try to, establish the run, see if you can get anything going off that right side and get Khalil Herbert and maybe Rashawn Johnson, even Justin, just kind of, using his legs and being that weapon. But yeah, other than that, in terms of pass protection, please, Luke Getsy, if you're listening to the show, 3-step drops, get the ball out of Justin's hands quickly. No 5, 7, 8 step drops back there and waiting for those routes to develop downfield because Justin will get hurt. Unless you want to see Tyson Badger in it real quick, just get the ball out of Justin Fields' hands really quickly. So, defensively, obviously, I'm not sure they can stop Washington, to be honest with you. I don't know what to tell you there. That we have a defense head coach that will not blitz and just sticks to those front four guys, even though they don't even get sniff the cologne or the anything about the quarterback is wearing. So I have no idea what they would do there defensively.
Didn't Washington put up 31 on the Eagles?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jesus, are we head to a 70-point game here?
Well,
I'm telling you, if you want a firing, you might. If you get a 50 burger from Washington, you might see a firing.
Oh gosh, and you heard it here first. You heard it here first from Danny, Luke Getsy, friend of the show, clearly watching. I'm sure he tunes into Buffone 55 every week for just some tips, just to just some game plan tips. But Danny, you're talking about this defense, and the Bears coaching staff seemed to prefer these long defenders, which is one of the reasons they signed Tremaine Edmonds and got rid of Roquan Smith because he wasn't a right fit in this defense. What has gone wrong with Edmonds? Is it an overestimation of his abilities, or is this scheme just not fit to make anybody shine?
No, first of all, defensive line is not helping him. Just to be fair to Tremaine Edmonds, the defensive line is not helping him. If you take a look at a lot of these plays that you see the guard, you see the center leaking out to that second level, defender. A lot of times it's at Edmonds, and they're wiping him out or washing him out of the play. So he's not being impactful in terms of at or around the line of scrimmage. They're not taking up blockers in front of him, so he can there's a lane for him to kind of get back into that backfield and make a impactful tackle for loss or anything like that. That's not helping him out. However, to tell me that Tremaine Edmonds is a more impactful or better linebacker than Roquan Smith is just flat out lying to me. Now, you might say he's a better fit at middle linebacker and Roquan's more of a weak side linebacker in the system, but you cannot tell me if you look at the stats, because the big thing was Roquan is he doesn't make any game-changing plays, doesn't create turnovers. But if you look at the stats, you put up Tremaine Edmonds against Roquan Smith. I'm looking right here. So the big play stats, right? The interceptions, for example. For his career, Tremaine only got 5. Roquan, on the other hand, has got, I believe, he's got 8 interceptions. On sacks alone, Roquan's got 20 career sacks. Tremaine Edmonds only has 6.5 sacks. So those are some big impactful plays there. Quarterback hits. Roquan's got 24 for his career. Tremaine Edmonds only has 18. So if you're going to tell me that Roquan is a less impactful linebacker and doesn't make those big splashy plays, but Tremaine Edmonds is, that's just flat out lying to me, right? That the numbers tell the truth here. So why they made that decision or made that switch in terms of, and you notice I keep saying this over and over again. Last year, they were a middle of the pack tier, respectable defense with Roquan on it, right? They weren't perfect by any means. Their defensive line still sucked, but at least Roquan was a guy that was making plays. And the Ravens, on the other hand, were lower 20s. I think their ranking before Roquan got there. You flip Roquan off the Bears, you put him on the Ravens. The Bears defense just goes down the tubes, and the Ravens climbs up the chart. So that is an impactful player. And then people might say, "Oh, he's not a fit for this defense." Listen, if you're a ball player, if you're a dude, I don't care where you line up, middle linebacker, weak side linebacker, strong side linebacker, you're going to make a play. You're going to make your presence felt. You're going to make plays on the defensive side. And I think Roquan, to tell me that Roquan was not an ideal fit and Trey Edmonds is, and give him practically the same amount of money, I don't buy that. That's another thing why I just don't see where Ryan Poles has any right to say, I deserve to keep my job.
I'm starting to think that it's not looking for players that fit this scheme. It's the scheme that does not fit players anymore. It's not. Stop worrying about people fitting into your scheme and worrying about, are you sure your scheme actually works with the players you want? And
look at the Bills. Look at the Bills. They took Tremaine Edmonds. They lost him, and then they filled in with a 4th-round second-year player, and they are even better. Now their front four is obviously heads over heels over better than the Bears, but they plugged in a 4th-round second-year player, and their defense is top-notch.
I think I saw. I want to say it was PFF rated linebacker. It was like Roquan 1 and Nick Morrow number 2. I was like, what? Like, oh, those are some names that we used to.
Also, the Bears haven't won a game since they traded Roquan.
Well, they haven't won a game since a lot of things happened. Let's not make that the milestone. There's been a lot of things have happened since the last time the Bears won a football game.
A quick comment in the chat saying that Roquan can't get off the blocks. Well, did you see Tremaine Edmonds can try to get off that block in that first touchdown? He can't get off blocks either. So it's the thing is you're talking about an impactful player. Who's a more impactful player, Roquan or Tremaine Edmonds? To me, it's Roquan Smith.
And it'd be nice if the defensive line could play up to a level.
Fair enough.
Let those guys.
Yes.
And I'm talking about, for anyone. I'm not just talking about Tremaine Edmonds. Like, if your D line can't get any kind of a push or eat up blocks, then this is what you're going to get. Right. And especially when you're not blitzing anybody, you're going to give the opposing team 4, 5, 6 minutes to throw the ball, and that's why we find that there's the play as soon as they didn't get the 4th down conversion late in the game, you notice that the first play that there was a huge chunk pass from the Broncos to go down the field and basically like set themselves up to kick the game-winning field goal. So very little faith in anything that has to do with this defense right now. Danny, looking over Aldo's video about the Commanders, it showed that the quarterback, Sam Howell, young guy, he's showing signs of growing into a pretty good, effective quarterback. Maybe not a Hall of Famer, but he sat all of last season with the exception of Game 17 where he started, and then they hired Eric Bieniemy from Kansas City to be his offensive coordinator. Is this a way that a quarterback should be developed, slowly and with offensive coordinators that have a long record of success, rather than what they kind of did with Luke Getsy, where he was with Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback coach, never called plays, but let's just hire let's hire a first-time GM, a first-time head coach, a first-time offensive play caller, and a young quarterback, and let's just hope the stars align and everything turns out perfectly.
Right, and that's the thing. That's what I was screaming about before the Eberflus hire was made. Was I wanted a established, coach, play caller that's been doing this in the NFL to come in and be the head coach here because of Justin Fields, to kind of nurture him. And yes, to answer your question, that's the way you bring along these younger quarterbacks. Some can just come in as a rookie. Look at Anthony Richardson. He had 13 career college football games under his belt. He was nowhere near ready to come in and be a first day NFL starter. But you know what? Shane Steichen took him in, has built that offensive scheme around him to his strengths, and he's allowing him to shine with what he does in terms of his ability to run with the football and throws that he's comfortable with, concepts he's comfortable with, and just kind of build his confidence from there and then just add to it, as opposed to just saying, hey, this is my offense and this is how I want you to run my offense. No, take a CJ Stroud, similar thing where, he comes in, he's known for his ability to throw accurate balls on a football field, and he's put in situations where he's making nice, easy completions, and he's supplemented with a good defense and a running attack. So there's ways to kind of help this young quarterback not only develop within that scheme, within that system, but also around him, the team around him. And there are times where, if you get a turnover on defense and you get your offense a short field to work with, that could generate points. Again, that gives your offense some confidence to go ahead and build off of. But unfortunately, with the Bears, they're just like, hey, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we want you to operate. We want you to operate from the pocket. We're not going to build everything around you in terms of your strengths. And then our defense can't stop anybody, and our rushing attack, we give up on it too soon. So, hey, it's all on you. And I think that's a recipe for disaster. And that's unfortunate what we've seen here so far with Justin. The one thing that does seem apparent is there is a personal connection there, what looks like, at least from afar, with Luke Getsy and Justin Fields. I think they both have mutual respect for each other. I think they both like each other. So hopefully that's why if you do make a change, I do want to see Getsy in that interim head coaching position. I want to see what he does with Justin, maybe he's being told from above that, we want Justin to be a pocket passer, and this is how we want him to develop. And this is what maybe gets and says, if he has control, he says, I'm going to let Justin just be Justin, and I'm going to build things around him. Hopefully we'll see, if that happens even right now without the head coaching change. But that's what you got to do. You got to take a player and put him in a position to succeed. Find his strengths, find his weaknesses, and stay away from those weaknesses as much as you can. Build on those weaknesses, make them into eventual strengths, and just kind of help him and come along and win. The unfortunate part is when everything's upon that quarterback, like you said earlier, we can't stop anybody on defense. You're gonna have to put up points for points against every other offense you go up against here. You got Minnesota coming up with their passer, and Kirk Cousins and their receiving core. We talked about with KC and the weapons they have. So trying to keep up pace with those guys, it's hard when you don't have the weapons that the other guys have around you. So. That was a long-winded answer to your question, John, but yes, it is very vital that the play caller and the developer of that offense knows the quarterback's strengths and weaknesses and builds a scheme around those strengths, and then helps fortify those weaknesses and make them eventually into one of the strengths as well.
We'll see how the Bears address that. We'll just see. There's a lot to figure out, and a lot of what happens for the next 13 weeks will determine the direction of that, and whether there's going to be serious personnel changes, whether there's going to be a quarterback change at some point, not throughout the season, but everything's going to be on the table if they ended up only winning 2 or 3 games this year. So everything is going to be on the table. But let's keep this in the short term, and we'll kind of end on this question. Alyssa, what do you expect in Washington on Thursday?
This defense sucks.
I love that. I love that so much. I was hoping we were going to bring that out.
We need to have, that's in every show, maybe a multi-show soundbite right there. So just all to be ready anytime we're talking about it. But maybe the better question is what happens after Washington, especially if things go bad. I know I'm teasing like I know what's going on. I don't, but you want them to see some accountability, right? So, if they do lose, which I think we all expect, and I don't, it's not us hating. It's just, it's just reality. What's going on?
Why should we believe anything different?
Yeah. Especially after how the game went last year, I think that was kind of more ideal than what we're going to see this year, where I think it's going to be high scoring, especially on Washington's end, especially with, looking at the practice report, Jalen Johnson and A. Jackson are probably still going to be out. So again, you have an injury-depleted secondary, a defensive line that can't get any pass rush on the quarterback. Sam Howell's probably going to have a career game. It's going to be brutal. And now we have to hope that Justin Fields can, replicate or at least build upon that performance that he had going against a much better defense. But there might be one silver lining. Tevin Jenkins was designated to return from IR. He was listed as, they had a walkthrough today, but he was listed as a full participant. So I don't know, maybe they'll probably save him for next week against the Vikings. But it is encouraging to know that, the best offensive lineman from last season is headed back.
Yeah, I think if they're going to bring him back, don't get him back on the short week. Just give him that extra 10 days or whatever, and bring him back after that. Danny, what do you expect in Washington on Thursday night?
I'm afraid, John. I'm not gonna shortcut it. I'm afraid. I'm afraid for Justin Fields' health. I'm afraid for a lot of those players' well-being in terms of mentally, in terms of how they're going to cope after another loss, because I don't see how they can beat Washington, to be honest with you. And I wish I could give you guys a silver lining. I was like, all right, this is how they can do it. Offensive line, I think Larry Borum is going to possibly get Justin hurt this game. We talked about Montez Sweat. We talked about the interior guys with Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, and then obviously Chase Young on the other side, who already had 2.5 sacks. So going up against Darnell Wright, who's gone off to a shaky start in his rookie season so far. So I'm worried. And if you're not gonna do a quick game, which is 3 steps, get the ball out of Justin Fields' hands, he's gonna take some big hits. And again, on a defensive side, I don't see how they're gonna be able to stop. Aldo did in his preview video there, 3 very good, talented receivers. Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, and then also Terry McLaurin. So I think those are guys that Howell. I wasn't a huge fan of Sam Howell coming out of North Carolina, but the one thing he can do is he can get hot, and when he gets hot, he has a pretty good deep ball thrower. So there with the 2 safeties out, possibly out. Or I'm sorry, with Ajax out and with Jalen Johnson out, the secondary is a little bit vulnerable there. So we'll see how that goes. But again, you're gonna have to keep match points with points here, and I just don't know how you can do this. The only good thing is here's silver lining, that the Washington Commanders offensive line has given up 24 sacks so far. But we have a defensive line that doesn't get to the quarterback. So there goes that silver lining. I tried.
1 sack?
I tried for
maybe
something.
get one.
Danny, why aren't you worried about my
We had to split a sack. We had to split a sack between 2 players.
I know,
got
my
half sack to get
God.
our 1 sack.
Split it. Danny, why aren't you worried about my well-being? I'm going to this game. I have to watch this game in person.
John.
Like,
I have a feeling halfway through the first quarter, you're gonna have a couple beers down. You're gonna be feeling good.
For those of you,
make some friends. You'll make
yeah.
some friends. By halftime, I bet you're gonna be at a bar somewhere mingling. All right, and
Or
not at the game.
or on my way home.
Get drunk.
Listen to the- for those of you listening to the audio version here, there's a Grim Reaper graphic over Danny's face right now because he's just the bearer of great news of the Chicago Bears. But
I used to be the guy who brought the hope and some positivity, but I'm saying
See what they
broke
did?
me.
See what they
broke
did to
me.
you?
They broke me, yeah.
Yeah, so I will be attending this game, and I listen. As much as I'm going to make fun of it, I love going to Bears games. I love watching them play in person. I don't have a lot of expectations for this game, so maybe that's going to take the sting off of this. And maybe I'm there for the Bears' first victory of the season. That would be fun. But I'm trying to, I got these tickets well before the season, and I just don't know who's going to buy them.
What you're having if you think the Bears are going to win this game?
Huh?
I'll take what you're having if you think the Bears are going to win this game.
I can at least hope. I mean, I'm going to be rooting for it. I'm not saying they're going to. I wouldn't pick them.
Just wear neutral colors. Don't let people know you're a Bears fan.
Well, I think at this point, I'm probably going to wear a Bears shirt, but I don't think who's going to start crap with a Bears fan. Like, we got it bad enough. Like,
they feel bad for us.
Like, get some sympathy there, yeah.
Yeah, it's like if I drove here to watch this team, are you really gonna give me crap? Like, come on, I already feel bad about myself and my team. You're not gonna say anything to me that I haven't already said to myself, or I haven't already said about my own team. Like, you're not breaking anything. You're not breaking any news to me.
So John, just remember, the Bears will not reach rock bottom. It keeps getting worse. So have fun on Thursday.
Yeah, what
it could always get worse.
Man, when did we turn into the Ray of Sunshine podcast? We were like a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about like 9-8, which we're gonna have to play back towards the end of the season to see how stupid we sound. By the way,
8-9 for the record.
8-9. Okay, are they getting to 8 wins, Alyssa? Are they getting to 8 wins?
No.
Isn't the Price is Right? You don't get points for being closest. They're still gonna.
One of the biggest mistakes I made, and I raised my hand first one there. I thought Yannick Ngakoue was going to make a difference on his defensive line, and now we see why he's been with 6 teams in the last 5 seasons. He just he'll get his numbers by the end of the season. End of the season he'll finish with 8-9 sacks, but they're just not impactful plays.
Danny, he leads the team in sacks. What do you want?
I think by the end of the season he'll have his 8 or 9 sacks, but they're not impacttive plays. That's the thing, and I think now you see why he's not a guy that sticks around.
That's a good use of $10.5 million. Way to go. Way to go, Ryan Poles.
Well, yeah, add it to the list, but
I'm going to write it off in their taxes anyway.
I can only take so much positivity here before I have to start thinking that we got to close this thing down. Before we get out of here, Alyssa, what do you got going on with Bears? I'm sure this is a short week for you too, so you're going to be churning out stuff on today, tomorrow, Thursday, and then every probably day after that.
Yeah, it's all condensed into like a matter of 4 days. So yes, constantly working, and I finally brought it back. I did it with Matt Nagy. I now have my hot seat watch, which the first one is premiering tomorrow. And it's going to be Eberflus, Getsy, and Poles. I know Danny will like that one. So yeah, so we're going to rate them on a scale of 1 through 10. I had some cool graphics, and my graphics guy was helping. We're going to keep going until everyone's gone or everyone's not gone. So it should be fun.
I can't wait.
We should talk about her list our next show.
Absolutely. Yeah, because we're gonna.
I'll have a new one by then.
Yeah, I was gonna say that might be adjusted at this point, but yeah, we should definitely bring that up. Danny, your people are already clamoring for your services because a lot of people think that the Bears season's already lost, and so the news that the Bears have the number 1 and number 2 overall pick currently has got people talking about mock drafts. So who have you been watching? What's going on?
Well, I started watching defense and offensive line, and then Aldo told me to start watching quarterbacks, which I tried to kind of push back on, but I said just watch some quarterbacks. So I'm starting to break down some quarterbacks. Obviously, the big name out there is Caleb Williams, but this is a draft that I think early on, again, it's we're not even a quarter or halfway through the college football season, but it looks like there's some depth there. So even if, for example, Justin, the Bears keep Justin Fields, and it's not, they don't go first overall pick with a quarterback. If they get the first overall pick, there is opportunities later on in the draft, mid to late first round, even top of the second round, where you could get a quality guy to come in here and compete for a job.
We'll see. Yeah, there's a lot listen, I didn't think we were going to be talking about this in like the first couple of days of October, but here we are talking about it in the first couple of days of October, and it's still been, we're officially in the month that the Bears won their last game last year. So it's October of 22 to October of 2023. A lot has transpired in that year, and we're still waiting for the Bears to win a football game. But
we should have a 1-year anniversary show on the 24th.
Oh yeah, there will be. There absolutely will be, because it'll be. Well, let's hope they win before that. But if not,
I'm rooting for the losing streak. Remember last week?
Yeah. Right. I was thinking of Danny too. I was like, oh my God, the Bears are winning. And then like, oh no, here it's spiraling. I'm like, somewhere Danny is smiling.
Well, I said this after the show where my cousin from Pittsburgh was texting me, and he texted me at halftime. He's like, "They got it, buddy. They got it." And I was like, "Hold on, Joey, take it easy." He's like, "Nah, I got a good feeling about this one." And then he texts me immediately after the game. He's like, "I will never assume anything ever again when it comes to the Chicago Bears." Like, I told you, man. Like you cannot be sure of anything until that thing hits triple zeros and the Bears have more points, because we have not seen that happen in a very long time. So
my cousin hit me up during the game and said, "Are the Broncos going to get the first pick in the draft?" And I held off. I didn't say anything. And then after the game, I said, probably not.
Not if the Bears have anything to say about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a reminder to everyone here in the bar room. The South Burbs Hitman is on. South Burbs Hitman is on directly after this show. It's their season finale. Just in case you want some more positivity, they're going to be going on directly after this show. So make sure you tune in for the South Burbs Hitman right after Buffone 55, and that will actually do it for this edition of Buffone 55. Just a reminder, after the game on Thursday, Bear football, Aldo Gandia, Danny Shimon, and Coach T will take you through all of the key plays of the game, give you their immediate reaction. I'll be down at the game, probably just happy as a clam after the Bears win.
Thing.
It is what it is. Guys, I don't want to make it seem like I'm not happy I'm going. I am excited to go. I've never been, although I've heard as far as like the Commander Stadium needs an upgrade, and they have new ownership, so it'll be my first time down there. So I'm interested to see what it's like, what parking's like, what the atmosphere is like. But I'm still going to try to have a good time regardless of the product that's on the field. Bears Commanders, the showdown everyone has been waiting for, the rematch of last year's prime game, which everyone was so excited about that they said, let's run it. But either way, make sure you tune into Bear Football directly after that game. And that'll wrap up this week's show. I appreciate everyone who tuned in, whether it's the live version, the podcast version, the audio version, the video version, whether it's your first time or your 55th time. I appreciate each and every one of you for going through this season with us. We would not be here without you guys, because then we'd just be three lonely people talking about this terrible football team. So we appreciate everybody in the chat room and everybody who has downloaded or watched this show. But that'll do it for this week. For Danny Shimon and Alyssa Barbieri, I'm John Buffone. Enjoy the game on Thursday, everybody. We'll see you next time.